Good afternoon. Have I hit an afternoon yet? I've hit afternoon!
It is?
It is.
Okay.
It is now. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Twist Gaming. We are here live from Gen Con 2018 in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we are continuing our all-day live coverage from the convention. And I am joined here today with Thomas from Free League Publishing.
Yep.
And you are here to talk to us about a game called Crusader Kings, which is based off of a computer game published by Paradox Interactive.
That's right.
Did I get that right?
Absolutely. All of it was perfectly right. Nice.
So let's jump right in. Thomas, tell me what Crusader Kings is.
Sure. For those of you who don't know about Crusader Kings, it's a PC game. The current version, Crusader Kings 2, was published actually in 2012, so it's quite an old game, but with a very strong, passionate fan base. There's actually more and more people playing it every day, even though it's a 6-year-old PC game, which is quite unique. I used to be involved in the PC game side of things. I used to work at Paradox Interactive on the publishing side, not the development side. But since a few years back, we run Free League Publishing, we do analog games, tabletop role-playing games, board games, art books. We did this game, Tales from the Loop, won a bunch of awards here last year, a lot of fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And now we are working on Crusader Kings, the board game, as in partnership with Paradox.
Very good. Now, you kickstarted this game back in May.
Yep.
And we're looking for fulfillment in the winter
Yep.
of this year.
This year, yeah.
And now we're going to switch over to the board cam. This is a game with a pretty big table presence.
Yes, it is.
There we go.
What you see there is not the entire setup. It's like but most of it. That's pretty much what it looks like. I should also mention that this is not the final game. This is a prototype, so there's going to be a lot of tweaks and changes, specifically on the visual side. I mean, we've got lots of visual improvements. The map is going to be more detailed, prettier. And I should also mention that these little miniatures here are not the actual miniatures.
So before we get into this, when you talk about the changes between the current version of the game and where we're going to be when we hit delivery in wintertime and therefore also where our Q1 2019 retail version is going to be, where am I going to see these changes that we're going to be discussing?
We'll show them. I mean, to backers, we're showing them as they happen.
Kickstarter updates.
Yeah, we're doing. And we already showed a new version of the map and so on, but more detailed. It's going to be looking better, and we'll keep doing that throughout the fall, basically. And we are going to make a brand new prototype sometime around late fall.
Okay.
So that will show off as well, so that everyone can follow the final stages of development. I mean, the gameplay is there. We're just balancing now. So it's what we're going to be seeing changes is mostly on the visual side.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the map. We're talking about the miniatures. Those are the kinds of things that are going to be changing.
Yeah.
What's the gameplay?
Yeah. Well, just like the computer game, this game, it's a strategy game, a medieval strategy game where you play dynasties of medieval Europe. But what sets this game apart from other games in the genre, I'd say, is that it has a very strong focus on family and managing your dynasty. This game is a lot about getting married, having children, making sure the right heir inherits the throne, because you have that imbecile son inheriting the throne that just might throw the whole dynasty into chaos. That you don't want that. So you might want to send him off to the Crusades. Maybe he won't make it back. Maybe you have, maybe a smarter, younger daughter or something who could inherit instead.
The heir and the spare.
Yes. So all of that is really important, and that feeds into what's going on the map, because there will be war and intrigue and stuff going on the map as well. But to get there, you have to manage your family to get the best possible odds.
This is some of the best parts about the medieval times, family dynasties, and how they managed it. I mean, warfare was great, but a lot of the rule and control and the politics of that era were done through dynasties and in the drama there. Okay, so I see that we have the various countries on the board.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I should also mention that the computer game is a game that you can play for hundreds of hours. It's like a never-ending game.
Okay.
It's like a medieval simulator that with a lot of detail. Obviously, that doesn't really work in a board game. No. So what we have done is try to boil down the essence of what is Crusader Kings, all that medieval drama, into a tabletop game that you can actually play in a single evening. And that means we have condensed a lot of... You can still do a lot of the same stuff. You can still crusade, you can invade, intrigue, all of that stuff, but it's done in a more streamlined way. So basically what you do, you have a number of dynasties. It's 3 to 5 players. Right now it's set up for 4 because there is nothing on the Iberian Peninsula. So, and also I should mention that these pawns, they will be knights in the final game. For some reason the green knights didn't make it across the Atlantic, so we're stuck with the pawns. But that's not final. Anyway, basically there are 2 key things in the gameplay in this game. The one part are the action cards. They're over on this side here.
Okay.
Yeah. There are 8 different actions, and you can play them using these cards. And what's like the tricky thing about them is that each action here has maybe, yeah. Oh yeah, you can show them off there. That's a good. Oh,
there
nice.
you go.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, like you can see there, you have on top you have the 2 actions that you can perform with this card. You can develop or you can build. Develop means that you buy development cards. That can be like plate armor, a longbow, or you can hire a spy master, stuff like that. The build action means that you actually build a castle that will reinforce your realm and the provinces in it. However, when you play the action card and perform the action, you will automatically trigger an event. And the event is usually bad for you or good for another player. In this case, it's bad for you. It's a head injury. Your regent or king falls and hurts his head severely. So he survives, but the injury shortens his life considerably. Add 2 age tokens, so he will actually age faster and die sooner. So these things happen. There's 150 unique events. This was a completely random draw, so it's just 150 events in the game that will happen. So there's all these little stories going on. There's all these little narratives happening as you play the game.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one part of it, the action cards and the events and the way they are combined, where you trigger an event by playing an action. The other part is characters and their traits. So a key thing, every character in this game has 1 or more traits. So normally these you have over here a number of potential spouses that you can marry at the beginning of the game. And as a part of the setup, you will draw random traits for them. Like Diana here, she's an imbecile. Well, that's too bad. Catherine, let's see, what else do we have here?
That was great.
Catherine is actually, she's content. That's a good trait. I'm going to draw another random one for Felicia, who is strong. Okay, so we have 2 potential spouses with positive traits and 1 with a negative trait.
So I want to ask you a question right off the bat.
Sure, go.
The imbecile is the negative trait there, and I noticed that the color for the token is a darker red, and then your content trait is green. It's a good trait. And then strong has got these 2 crown icons right underneath them. This is going to green screen terribly, but I just really want to show off those 2 little small crown icons. So what's the significance of that?
Yeah, good question. I'm just going to give these 2 male potential spouses because you can have a female ruling queens in this game as well. So then they'll have to find spouses over here. You have Cruel Heinrich and the Genius Thomas. Yeah, so not me. Well, you know.
That was randomly chosen, right,
completely
Thomas?
Random. Completely random. Yeah. Where were we? Yeah, the 2 crowns. Yeah, they indicate that this particular trait, the strong trait, is a critical trait for certain actions. Same thing with this one over here. Can I put it here?
Oh, it's 2 crowns with the negative side.
Yeah, exactly.
Cruel.
So cruel is because you have traits and you have something called trait bags, and these are these little pouches that you have over here.
Yeah.
And these represent the traits of your starting king and then the entire dynasty. So this Heinrich IV, he's the king of the Salian dynasty, like the Germans. His starting traits are, oh yeah, there he is. I'll show his starting traits.
Ambitious and cruel?
He's ambitious and cruel, but he's also brave and he is strong. There you go.
That's ambitious, cruel, that sounds terrible.
So basically what you do is instead of when you perform an action in the game, you don't roll dice. Instead you reach into your trait bag, because these, I'm going to steal them back now.
Go right ahead.
They go into this green bag, and let's say he wants to perform an action, and you draw a random draw, and you want to pull a green. So if you pull a red one, it usually means failure.
So what you pulled here was the ambitious.
Ambitious, which is negative if you're overly ambitious. That's in this age was considered something negative. So But the crown on it means that for specific actions, even a red trait means success. Like when you build, ambitious actually means success. And when you invade or crusade, cruel, which is normally a negative trait, that would mean failure. But when you invade or crusade, cruel is good.
Okay, all
then
right.
it counts as a success.
All right, so there's a little bit more to this than just the
Exactly.
binary good or bad.
Yeah, and this bag of traits will change as you go along and play the game. So let's say Heinrich, our friend, wants to get married. That's not an automatic, but let's say he does. Then the person he marries, her trait will go into the dynasty's trait bag.
Okay.
So that's why if he marries imbecile Diana, the imbecile trait will go into the trait bag, and that will then change the chances of drawing green or red for all actions that happen in the game.
Right.
And when if they have a child, that child will also, let's give him a child.
Sure.
They have. Let's place Diana over here. He's now married to the imbecile Diana. Then they have the child,
Otto.
random child Otto. Let's give him a trait. Want to draw a trait?
Sure.
Just see what Otto is like.
All right.
Yeah.
I think Otto is pious.
Pious. Oh, that's a good trait.
Because
yeah.
when you grow up with a mother who's not so smart, you're
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really
So
impact.
now you actually have a pretty good heir there, because then you'll put him on the
So it's going to go right here on the child section.
exactly, on the child. That's like
And
your
then-
family tree, and that stays on him.
Okay.
So that trait, the child's trait, does not automatically go into the trait
dynasty
bag.
bag. Okay.
Only when and if Otto inherits the throne, when Heinrich dies.
Inevitably kicks the
Yeah.
bucket.
But it can also happen that, let's say, you have another child.
This is Matilda.
Matilda. Let's give her a trait.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Okay, be good, something good.
Yeah.
All right. Matilda is going to be patient because,
Patient.
yeah.
You know, I'm just gonna cheat a little bit, and
What?
let's say she's not patient at all. She's actually a lunatic. Yeah. And let's say this is a situation that's fairly good, because Otto, the pious Otto, is actually next in line to the throne. So
Okay.
that's fine. You're in a good place. The lunatic Matilda, you might marry her off or whatever. But let's say it was the completely other way around, that Otto was the lunatic and Matilda was the pious one.
Yeah.
Then you're in a situation where you don't want lunatic Otto to inherit your throne.
But I think that the best place for a lunatic is on the front lines during a crusade.
Yeah, good point. So then you can play the crusade card
Yes.
and not pay any gold to help him succeed. You just send him off and hope he doesn't make it back. And then instead you have pious Matilda next in line to inherit the throne and will become a pious good queen for the dynasty. So that's like how the games kind of and these things play together.
This is really cool. I have to point out, and I've got my 5-minute wrap up notice that I really enjoy. Like, I see the map and I see the minis, and I'm immediately thinking like war game, and all right, I got to strategize with my troops.
Yeah.
I think this part personally,
Yeah.
this is personal. Everybody's got their own different tastes for games.
Yeah.
This is so much more interesting to me.
Yeah, and the way, I mean, we didn't really have time to get into that, but these things also tie together
Right.
because you can also you can assign your children to specific. You can make them dukes or duchesses of certain territories. That will help, but it will also put them at risk for certain things. And then in the end, there will be intrigue and warfare between the different types. So the chances of succeeding with an invasion depends on how good your trait bag is, because that's your dice.
Right.
So if you manage your family well, that will help everything else you do in the game.
You get a good pool.
Exactly. So it all ties together.
So if I have never played Crusader Kings before,
Yeah.
and I am seeing this game for the first time in its analog version,
Yeah.
what kind of gamer is this really going to appeal to?
Well, it's fairly. I mean, it's a gamer's game, so it's not super casual.
Right.
But and you don't need to be an expert at the computer game to play the board game, which is a good thing. So I'm also hoping that the board game can actually introduce people to the computer game, which is quite. It can be quite a challenge to get into because it's a very big, complex video game. So I think it's. I mean, it's for. I mean, for me, this is like. It's for gamers like me. I mean I love a good gamer's game, but I wanted to be able to finish it in a single evening of play. I mean, there can be certain charming games that take days to play, but
Right.
but if I can.
This is going to want a different feel.
Yeah, this is a more a game that you can actually finish And because of the strong focus on family and that stuff, I think it can appeal to players who are not only hardcore war gamers, but also enjoy like role-playing. I mean, we come from a role-playing background. The other games we do are tabletop role-playing games. And this has a lot of element of story and character. So if you're into that, I think that this can be a game for you as well.
Awesome. So where can my audience learn more about Free League and about Paradox Interactive?
Yeah. So yeah, Free League. We have a website, freeleaguepublishing.com. There you can find all the information there. The Kickstarter is over, but we have a pledge manager for late pledges, so that's open. You can still get in on the Kickstarter if you'd like to. And Paradox Interactive, you can find them. Just Google it, and they have big website and everything.
What is the late pledge option price point?
Well, as the way Kickstarter works, since we're a Swedish company, we need to set our prices in Swedish crowns, not in US dollars. There are two levels. There's like the base edition, and there is the Royal edition, which is a bit more. And the base edition will have 70 nice big miniatures in it, and a lot of stuff. And that's I'm just going to quickly convert it to US dollars here. So it's around it'd be around between $60 and $70.
Okay,
yeah,
fantastic. And we do have a question in chat, Matt. What's that question?
Is the Duke Duchess rule available for all versions of the game or just the Kickstarter?
So the question was whether the Duke and Duchess rule was available for all versions of the game or just the Kickstarter version.
It will be available for all versions. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I am really happy that we got to get this to the table, and I'm really excited to get a look at it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all. Please stay tuned for our continuous coverage of Gen Con 2018 live. Bye.